Okay, so welcome to the second lecture of the infinite series. Infinite series, lecture number 2. In the previous lecture, we had an introductory discussion about infinite series. Okay, so here we start with the collection of a smaller set of partial sums of an infinite series. So suppose we have an infinite series n equals to 1 to infinity an, which is equals to a1 plus a2 and so on till some a k minus 1, plus you have the rest of the part, which is say n equals to k to infinity a n, right? So you can obviously write a series in this form, right? So the concept basically defines the convergence of an infinite series relating it with the collection of partial sum. So it says that if n equals to 1 to infinity a n converges, then summation n equals to k to infinity a n also converges, or rather only converges, for any k greater than 1. K greater than 1 because k equals to 1 will give you this series itself. So for any k greater than 1 and converse. And converse. The reverse is also true. That is, if this part converges, then this will also converge. Clear? Got it? Okay. Next, one more topic there is, which is kind of important, which is called the reindexing of infinite series. Reindexing of infinite series. Reindexing of infinite series basically says that this summation n equals to 1 to infinity a n. This can be written like this: n equals to 1 plus h to infinity a n minus h. Also can be written as n equals to 1 minus h to infinity a n plus h. Because if you put n equals to 1 plus h here, you will get 1 itself, right? Or n plus h here, you will get 1 itself. If you put 1 minus h here in place of n, you will get 1 a1. So basically they indicate towards the same series, that is a1 plus a2 till an, and it continues till infinity. Okay? This is what we called the reindexing. For example, let's say you have a series this. So you have summation n equals to 1 to infinity 1 over 2 to the power n. You can write it like this: n equals to 5 to infinity 1 over 2 to the power n minus 5. It will become the same thing, right? Sorry, n minus 4. Sorry, n minus 4. N minus 4. Okay. So putting n equals to 5. So here if you put n equals to 1, you will get the first term as 1 by 2. If you put n equals to 5, you will also get the first term as 1 by 2. This you can also write like this: n equals to say minus 4 to infinity 1 over 2 to the power n plus 5. If you put n equals to minus 4, you will also get the first term as 1 by 2. Is this portion clear? And it will continue. So this is what we call as reindexing. Now when do we apply reindexing? You have certain circumstances where you need to apply reindexing to bring a series to some suitable form. You also will be able to find these concepts of reindexing when you will be solving the differential equations, having the power series solutions, having power series solutions, the Legendre's equation, Bessel's equation. The in those parts you require reindexing concepts. Okay, there are many more parts, of course. This is what reindexing and adding and deleting term concept is basically. Is that clear? So next we move on to two tests of non-negative term series. Okay, so you have you will have infinite series. I'm giving the heading here itself. So series with all non-negative terms. All non-negative terms. Okay, series with all non-negative terms. That is, this is basically a series n equals to 1 to infinity an, where an is greater than 0 for all n belonging to the set of natural numbers. Right? Clear? So also, if you represent this as a sequence of the partial sums, we can also say that this sequence is monotonically increasing. Is monotonically increasing. What is the reason of that? Because see, Sn will always be less than Sn plus 1. The reason is, see, Sn plus 1 is basically Sn plus An plus 1, and since An plus 1 is positive, so this will always be greater than Sn, right? That's why. So the sequence is monotonically increasing. Clear? This particular concept gives us a very important theorem which tells that a series a series an of non-negative terms, of course, of non-negative terms converges IFF, that is if and only if its partial sums its partial sums are bounded above okay. We will be understanding this particular theorem with an example. See, so in the previous lecture we had discussed that there was the nth term test, you remember, for the convergence and divergence of series, where we said that the converse was not true, that is limit n tends to infinity 1 over n equals 0, but this series is diverging, right? This we had discussed. So we will see the proof of this particular divergence using this particular theorem. Okay, so let's see. So what basically this series n equals to 1 to infinity 1 over n, this is 1 by 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3, 1 by 4, 1 by 5, and so on, kind of, right? Acha. Now let's see what we mean to say is, so what we do is that we group elements of this series in such a way such that we find that each of those groups are unbounded or not bounded above, more specifically. Are you getting my point? For example, see, you have 1 plus 1 by 2, then we group 1 by 3 and 1 by 4, then we group 1 by 5, 1 by 6, 1 by 7, and 1 by 8, then we group 1 by 9, 1 by 10, 1 by 11, 1 by 12, 1 by 13, 1 by 14, 1 by 15, and 1 by 16, and so on. We keep on grouping like this. Okay, so you can always see that these groupings are done and on the basis of 2 to the power, right? So if we take 2 to the power 2 numbers here, we take 2 to the power, sorry, we take 2 to the power 1 numbers here, we take 2 to the power 2 numbers here, we take 2 to the power 3 numbers here, and so on. We keep on grouping, and we find that each of these groups are greater than 1 over 2. Each of these groups are greater than 1 over 2. So what we conclude from here is that any partial sum of this particular series is unbounded. It keeps on continuing infinitely. Every single group of this form will be greater than 1 over 2. So if you take any partial sum of this particular series, it will always be greater than 1 over 2. It will always be greater than 1 over 2. Are you getting my point? And this basically, what does this mean? So this means that it is not having any upper bound. It is having a lower bound, 1 over 2, you can call it. But it is not having an upper bound. Not having an upper bound will give you the answer that it is diverging. Is that very, very clear? Okay. So this is a diverging series. This is a diverging series. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay, so this much is clear, guys. Okay, acha. Now we move on to the first test of the convergence or divergence of series, which is called the integral test. Integral test. So generally, in the concepts of integral test, what we basically do is that, so you have a series a n equals to 1 to infinity. We compare this with integration 1 to infinity a n d, anything, any dn, let's say. Okay, clear? Got it? And this will basically help us understand whether a given series is having an upper bound or not, because see, we have already discussed that in series are basically, if considered as sequences, then they come out to be monotonically increasing. So if they have an upper bound, then we can say by the concept of monotonically increasing sequences converge to their least upper bound. We can say by that concept that if it is having an upper bound, then by the completeness property of real numbers, because every image, I guess you people remember what are series is, right? Series are formed from sequences, and sequences are functions from naturals to reals. So all these elements are belonging to the set of real numbers. And if this particular series or any sequence is having an upper bound, then by the completeness property of real numbers, it will obviously have a least upper bound. So having an upper bound basically giving it a least upper bound, and since it's monotonically increasing, it will obviously converge. So basically we use this integral test to find whether a given series is bounded above or not. For example, if we have this series, okay, if you have this series which can be written as 1 over 1 square plus 1 over 2 square and so on, 1 over n square, and so what we do is that we accept this first element, we compare the rest of the sum with the integration. So obviously is equal to changes to an inequality which is less than. So this gives you 1 plus integration 1 to infinity 1 over n square dn, right? So now this becomes, so this particular integration basically, we can do it here. So minus 1 over n, 1 to infinity, so infinity makes it 0, so minus and minus plus, so it becomes 1. So it is less than 2. That means this is bounded above. Bounded above means it is convergent. Okay, it is convergent. Clear? The sum of the series is equals to pi square over 6. This is a very important result. N equals to 1 to infinity 1 over n square is equals to pi square over 6. Approximate value, but it is known to be pi square over 6. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? So if we go through the statement of what the integral test is, it seems something like this, I'm telling you. So the definition, let's say, the definition says that let an be a sequence of positive terms, suppose an, which is obviously equals to image of this natural number n, okay, where f is a continuous positive and decreasing function of n for all n greater than equals to n naught, where n naught is some natural number, then the series n equals to n naught to infinity, a n, and the integral that is from n naught to infinity f of n dn converge or both diverge. Okay, this is what we used here. This is the proof what we use. So If you are having a sequence an and when an is represented by some function fn, f of n, where f is a continuous positive and decreasing function for some number of values of n, where n is greater than n naught, where n is greater than n naught. So then what happens is this summation from n naught and this integration also from n naught, they both converge or both diverge. Is that clear? I hope you will remember. So we also use the same proof for the p series. No, reciprocal p series. We also use this same proof for the reciprocal p series. Okay. That is, let's say you have the p series, let's say summation 1 over n to the power p, the simplest p series, p is equals to 1 to infinity. This is you. I mean, you need to check whether this is a converging series or a diverging series. Okay. So these series they basically converge if p is greater than 1 and diverge if p is less than equals to 1. So do remember this. This is a very important concept. Reciprocal p series is also called normal p series itself. They are basically converging if p is greater than 1 and diverging if p is less than equals to 1. Clear? Clear? What happens? Let's see. What will be the value of integration 1 to infinity 1 over n to the power p dn? What will be this value? So this will be basically, so n to the power minus p plus 1 over minus p plus 1, right, from 1 to infinity. Okay, from 1 to infinity, right. So you can take this 1 over 1 minus p common outside. You can take this outside. Okay. And so inside what you are left with? So inside what you are left with? So you are left with basically n to the power minus p plus 1 from 1 to infinity. Yeah. If p is greater than 1, if p is greater than 1, okay, then this part tends to infinity. If p is greater than 1, then this part tends to infinity when n tends to infinity. Okay. P is greater than 1 when n tends to infinity, this part tends to infinity and the other part left is 1, so this basically equals 1 over p minus 1. So if this basically 1 over it is a 1 over p minus 1, so we can say that this series will be less than this. So p equals to 1 to infinity 1 over n to the power p will be less than 1 over p minus 1, where p is greater than 1, right. It converges because it is having an upper bound. Yeah. Got it. If p was less than 1, then this would have tended to infinity. If p was less than 1, then this would have tended to infinity. Is it clear, guys? I guess you people can understand what we are doing here. Okay. Is it clear? The integral test. Next, we move on to what we call the comparison test for positive terms in finite series. So this is called the comparison test for series of non-negative terms. Okay, what do we do here? Let's see. So there is something called the direct comparison test here. Okay, so we will be covering a number of comparison tests. So we will have the direct comparison test, we will have the limit comparison test. So these we will have several more tests. We will have the ratio and root test for non-negative terms. We will have the there is also some more tests also. The nth root test, yeah, which we call the root test. Okay, number of tests we do have. Okay, number of tests we do have. Under the comparison test, we basically emphasize on two tests. One is the direct comparison, one is the limit comparison. Okay, clear. So what is this direct comparison test? So basically, the direct comparison test says let be a infinite series. Okay, First point says that an converges if Cn converges where where this an is less than equals to Cn for all n greater than equals to some n naught. Okay, for n naught belonging to the set of naturals. Clear? So basically what we mean by this statement is that if Cn is an infinite series which contains elements greater than the series of an, okay, where n is greater than n naught. This you can already understand if you have studied sequences and convergent of sequences. So this is the convergence test, and also something which we have called the diverging factor, which is the this diverges if Cn diverges where an is greater than equal to Cn for all n greater than equals to n naught, for all n greater than equals to n naught belonging to the set of natural numbers. Clear? So these two are the what we call the comparison tests. Is it clear? Is it clear? Acha. Let us take an example. Suppose we have this series summation n equals to 0 to infinity, or let's say n equals to 1 to infinity. Let's say n equals to 1 to infinity. Summation n equals to 1 to infinity 1 over n factorial. This is the series we consider. Acha, I guess you people know this, that n factorial is greater than equals to 2 to the power n minus 1, right? Right? This I guess you people know. You can prove it by induction. Okay. Okay. One second. One second. Okay. Acha. This is true for n equals to 1. Right? This is true for n equals to 1. N equals to 1 will be, this will become 1. This will also become 1. Okay. For 2 also it will be true, right? 2 n equals to 2 will, this will become 2. This will, yeah, for 2 is equals to, also this is true. For 3 this will become 4 and this will become 6. Okay. So 3 onwards it is greater than. So we can consider this for all n. We can consider this for all n. Let's say. Okay. Or let's restrict this to n. Let's consider n naught as 2, as 3, let's say. So for n greater than equals to n naught, we can remove this equality. We can keep the strictness. Okay. So from here we can say 1 over n factorial is less than 1 over 2 to the power n minus 1. We will use this here. So we can form a geometric series, obviously. So if we take this series, n equals to 1 to infinity 1 over 2 to the power n minus 1. So this is basically a geometric series, right? This is a geometric series, and the ratio is also r is also less than 1, right? So this is 1 over, so this is basically 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 4 and so on. So this is 1 over 1 minus 1 by 2, that is 2. Right? So this is having a summation. That means that this is a converging series. This is a converging series, and this thing to be true for all n greater than 3, greater than 2, let's say, greater than 2. Then what can, then, or greater than equal to 3, let's say, anything greater than 2 or greater than equals to 3, anything you can say. Let's say greater than equal to 3. So from here we can say that by the direct comparison test, this will also converge. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay. So this is what, how we use the direct comparison test basically. Okay. Clear? Acha, in this lecture we are keeping till this much only. From the next lecture onwards, we will start with the limit comparison test, and then we will move on the ratio and root test and so on. So meet you guys in the next lecture.